Good morning, everyone. It's been a busy year, as you've heard, and it's always really daunting coming up here after a presentation and realizing that everything you're about to say is about to contradict what the person before you has said. Unfortunately, I'm not in that position, and I think a lot of what I'm going to say is going to complement what Kai has already said. And I have a passion for digital, and I always have done, but more importantly, I have a passion to communicate that digital doesn't need to be complicated. People come to me sort of, almost really scared about digital and what they're going to do and how they integrate digital within their marketing mix. And really, I think you just need to sit down and think about it for a while, but it shouldn't be complicated, and hopefully that's what you're going to take away from my presentation today. So the rules have changed and you're not in control anymore. Certainly the rules are changing. And again, Kai had a very similar slide to this, I'm pleased to say, although he's looked nicer than mine. And we're moving from the more traditional offline methods of marketing, which you could say are pharma controlled. We control the messages that we share with healthcare professionals, to this situation where actually healthcare professionals can choose which information they interact with, and they can actually search for it as well. So we're not as in control as we have been, and we have to bear that in mind in our marketing strategy. There are 39 million internet users in the UK every month. That's most of the adult population of the UK. And there's over 150,000 healthcare professionals and 90+ thousand primary and secondary care doctors per month accessing the internet. So whether you like it or not, or whether your senior management like it or not, your customers are accessing information on the internet. And if they're not getting the information about your products from you, then you need to ask the question, where are they going for that information, and what information are they finding? And I think that's a very important question. A very easy way to do that is to Google and see what other people will find if they Google your product. I look at integration as really sort of one of three very simple options. Firstly, combine elements of your current marketing mix. Look at what you've already got in your marketing mix, and you'll probably find that you do have offline and online elements of it, and look at whether there's any synergies in combining those and creating an integrated project. The other one is to take an element of your current marketing mix and add something to it. So if you've got something offline, add an online component to it. And the third one is to start from scratch. And we're at that time of year where people are brand planning now and looking at what your objectives are for the following year, or you may have already completed that, and how you're going to achieve those. And it might be that an integrated project is the best solution. The one thing I would say is that as you go down those numbers, you need a bigger budget in order to do them. And with a bigger budget, you need justification. Now, one thing I would say is make sure that you're not just doing digital for digital's sake, or that you're not creating great big integrated projects for the sake of it. Make sure you're clear about what the objectives of your integrated project is up front, and that you can demonstrate that there's been a benefit. The worst thing in the world, if you're trying to convince skeptics within your organisation that they should be adopting digital, is to go and do something and create a great project that they can't see any value in and you can't prove there's any value in. So what do our customers want or need? We've said that customers will search for information and they will choose to interact with us. And generally, as we all surf the internet, you choose to interact with the sites that provide you with something that you want or need. So it's true interaction now. And I'm just going to cover a few examples of how, if you're not really integrating online and offline strategy, you could do it probably very simply within your organisation. And hopefully these are things that most of you are using. This one is obviously meetings. We know that customers are always very sceptical about what we have to say, and they prefer interaction with their peers, which they trust and see as more credible. And I'm sure that most of you still have meetings as part of your marketing mix. And most of the research shows that healthcare professionals still enjoy attending meetings as long as they're the right meetings. So how do you integrate offline and online? And the easiest way is to look at how users interact with your meeting. And if you've got a website, a product site, then actually add a section onto it where delegates can go and register for your meeting. Now, if you've got a website, Well, one of the worst things I think you can do is then create a microsite. Because what you see is people have really great product websites, and then they have 6 microsites that they've created over the last 2 years. Each one of them becomes redundant as soon as the meeting's finished and doesn't get kept up. And what you actually find then is that they just remain there sort of floating around in the ether as, you know, a sort of big white elephant. So use your current website and register for meetings on your website and send meeting reminders. Download pre-reading and delegate packs. I mean, you know, I don't know how many of you are doing it here. I can't see many of you doing it here, unfortunately. But sometimes you turn up to meetings, and for the first half of the meeting, all people do is look through the folders they've been given and actually not listen to any of the presentations. So give it to them in advance of the meeting. Let them access meeting information. You know, we all, you know, go to meetings or even, you know, if we're going to concerts, and we often look online to see, is there parking? How much is it? If there isn't parking, does it tell me where I can park? Where's the nearest tube station? We forget that when we're inviting customers to our meetings, they also want that information, and that information is important to them, and we often don't share it. Access post-meeting information and reports. Prolong your interaction with them. Provide meeting feedback. You know, we all try and grapple to get those pieces of paper as people walk out of the door for our meetings. Isn't it great if you could contact them a few days later and they can go online and fill in feedback? And obviously send them future notifications. Now, this is just one example of where maybe you could show the benefit of integrating online activities with your offline meetings. Kai mentioned about CMS systems. I actually really like CMS systems. I think they're great, and I think more people should use them. What I think you need to do is make sure you retain control of them. Why should an IT department be looking after something that is a content management system? The clue is in the word. It's about content. It's what you do. It's not about functionality or IT. And most modern content management systems are very, very easy to use. And this will allow you to actually put up your own meetings, upload your own information, your delegate packs, your post-meeting reports, set up registrations. And you can do that for your national and even your local meetings. And you can do it all from within your site. We use it. I don't know how many people have used DigiPharm website today, but we expect when we're going to a big meeting to be able to find information online. So why is it that we don't provide that to our customers when we're doing big meetings for our customers? It stands to reason they're going to expect to find it as well. This is one of my biggest bugbears, actually, and I think this is a really good opportunity for online and offline integration. Clinical papers. I've been in God knows how many field visits where you've been walking out the door and the representative has handed a doctor probably 30 or 40 pounds worth of clinical papers without actually even really understanding whether the doctor wants them or is even going to read them. I would imagine quite a lot of them probably end up in the bin. By the way, this is doing something really weird. It's not me sort of forwarding, you know, those of you getting a bit sick going backwards and forwards in my slides. Create an online resource of your clinical papers. Use some of the money that you would normally spend on printed clinical papers and put them online. It's a really simple integration to do. Host them within your site. Most publishers will want you to link out to their sites. I would always say host them within your site as a PDF. So create a library for your customers. Create a library of value for your customers so they know if they want to find clinical papers on your product or in your therapy area, there's a resource where they can go and access them free of charge. Where I think the integration comes into this, and I've seen it work very well, is actually it then gets your representatives driving the customers to your online resource because they see value in driving their customers there because their customers can go there and get something that they want to interact with. And you can put all different kinds of information on there. Old media versus new media. And I'm not talking about CDs or cassettes. I'm talking about print advertising. There's been a real drop in print advertising with pharma over the last couple of years. And I think one of the reasons is because we're all looking to justify our ROI for our spends. And it's quite difficult to justify with print media. But I think there is some scope to integrate print media and online activities. We all have laptops, but we still use notebooks because there's convenience in using notebooks. So what I would say to you is, you know, look at your print advertising campaign and see what capacity you do have for integration there. Often in adverts, you see the website URLs at the very bottom in really small text. What I would actually say is be a bit more bold. If you've got things online that you think your customers are going to find valuable, like an online resource of clinical papers free of charge, like the capacity to go online and book for your meetings online, then advertise that on an advert and actually make that the focus of the advert and make your URL much bigger within the advert, because you'll get a lot more benefit from your adverts if you actually then convert those to your online space where they've got much more opportunity to interact with your messages. So look at how you use your print advertising and how much space you dedicate to your URL address for your website, but make sure there's value for customers. Print gives you trust, scale and impact, but as we've already seen, online gives you interactivity, it gives you accountability and the ability to share large amounts of information. When you put those together, you do get greater reach, you get greater exposure, you get what you could call a media multiplier or greater impact. You potentially can extend your campaign and you certainly get better negotiation with the publishers. I found this online, which I actually found quite interesting, and it actually looks at print advertising. This one is versus TV, but it actually shows that for Waitrose, print advertising actually gave them a greater return than TV advertising. But they actually went on to say within the article that actually they found when they combined them, they got an even greater upturn. But what was really interesting about this advert is looking at what the advert was actually advertising. I wonder how successful the advert had been if you actually removed their URL, if you removed the source of information that people could go and find to actually understand what essential Waitrose means.